For the first time in Asia, connect your landphone and smartphone through SLT Wi-Fi with the SLT Voice app.
Tonight, go home. Head-on comments to the Sri Lankan government from the Cardinal who visited Vatican caused the entire cadre to step down over sequence of exhibited failures and irreversible mistakes. Face the consequences. Attorney General directs criminal probe on resigned Defence Secretary after Easter massacre. It's not the 18th. Opposition leader responds to President's remarks that the 18th Amendment was dictatorial, says it is the 19th that is detrimental. Not so conducive. Malaysian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka wants government to ensure better environment for investors.
I would appreciate it also if the government of Sri Lanka could continue to provide a conducive environment for Malaysian investors and participate.
All this and much more coming up on First at 9 this Monday, the 24th of June 2019.
මුහුණ සති කීපයකට කලින් ෆෑර් ඇන්ඩ් ලව්ලි මෙන් ගෑවට පස්සේ මාක්ස් අඩු වෙලා ෆෑනස් වැඩි වෙලා.
මාක්ස් අඩු කරලා ඔයාගේ ෆෑනස් ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් එක වැඩි කරගන්න. ෆෑර් ඇන්ඩ් ලව්ලි මෙන් ඇන්ටි මාක්ස් ක්‍රීම්.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Well, a very good evening and welcome to First at 9 on AdaDerana 24, Sri Lanka's news channel. I'm Katharina Chang. The former Secretary of Defence will face possible criminal charges over major lapses linked to the Easter Sunday attacks that killed 258 people. Attorney General Dapula de Oliveira said Hemasiri Fernando, who was Secretary to the Ministry of Defence before the April 21 bombing, should be investigated for his failure to prevent the attacks or minimise the impact. The Attorney General said in a letter to the Acting Inspector General of Police that the Presidential Commission of Inquiry had found major lapses by Hemasiri Fernando, who has since resigned from his job. Coordinating Officer for the Attorney General, State Counsel Nishara Jayaratne, stated that criminal charges will now be launched against the former Defence Secretary. The Attorney General earlier called for criminal investigations against 9 police officials, including 3 DIGs, over their lapses of duty and failure to prevent attacks. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court ordered to take up on July 31st the fundamental rights petition filed by IGP Pujit Jayasundara challenging President Maithripala Sirisena's decision to send him on compulsory leave. The ruling was made by the 3-member judge bench comprising Supreme Court Justices Prasanna Jayawardena, LTB Dehideniya and S. Tureraja today.
After President Maithripala Sirisena sent him on compulsory leave, IGP Pujit Jayasundara filed a fundamental rights petition with the Supreme Court requesting the suspension of President's decision through an interim order until a final ruling on his petition is delivered by court. In his petition, IGP Pujit Jayasundara cited that the decision to send him on compulsory leave was made in violation of the Constitution and in turn violated his fundamental rights. Speaking on behalf of the Attorney General, Additional Solicitor General Indika Devamuni de Silva, however, stated that the Secretary to the President as well as former Director of State Intelligence Service, who are 2 respondents of the FR petition filed by Pujit Jayasundara, have raised objections against the FR petition through affidavits. Justice Prasanna Jayawardena noted that the judge bench had not received the copies of affidavits. During the proceedings today, Justice Jayawardena inquired as to who the IGP's disciplinary authority was. Attorney at law Viran Correa, who represents the IGP, responded by highlighting that the disciplinary authority of the IGP is the Cabinet of Ministers, although he is appointed by President following recommendations of the Constitutional Council. The attorney added that the National Police Commission is not the disciplinary authority of the IGP. Justice Jayawardena then argued whether the President had powers to send the IGP on compulsory leave, where the IGP is answerable to the Cabinet, but the President was serving as the Minister of Law and Order. It was following these developments that the three-member judge bench ordered to take up the IGP's fundamental rights petition for consideration on July 31st.
Meanwhile, the head of the Catholic Church in Sri Lanka, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, who undertook a visit in Rome, issued a scathing criticism of the government over the Easter Sunday attacks probe and called for the entire government to step down over the sequences of exhibited failures. Delivering a sermon yesterday in Milan, Italy, the Cardinal also urged the people to make the right choices when it is time.
ඉතිහාසයේ පුරාවට අපේ දේශපාලන නායකයෝ මොනවද කරේ? තණ්හාව, බලලෝභය, කුලල් කා ගැනීම, අනිත් අයට වරද පැටවීම, එහෙම නැත්නම් අර අහක ඉන්න නිලධාරීන්ව අල්ලගෙන ඒ මිනිස්සුන්ව තලන්න යන එක. ඡන්ද ගැන හිතලා නෙමෙයි දේශපාලකයෝ රටක සේවය කරන්න ඕනේ. මේ කටුව පිටියේ කොච්චි කඩේ මැරිච්ච මිනිසුන්ගේ ඒ ගෙවල් වලට ගිහිල්ලා ඒ මිනිසුන්ගේ ඕන එපාකම් සොයා බැලීම ඒ මිසක් ඒකත් දේශපාලන ලෝකේ වේදිකාවක් කර ගැනීම නෙමෙයි කළ යුත්තේ. අපි අලුත් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවක් හදන්න නම් මේ ආත්මාර්ථකාමී බලලෝභී වගකීම් පැහැර හරින රටට වඩා Tamanට ආදරය කරගන්න වාතාවරණයෙන් අපි මිදෙන්නට ඕනේ. මේ දැන් අවුරුදු 71ක්ලු නිදහස ලබාගෙන මම නම් දකින විදියට අපි එන්නෙම වහල්ලු බවට පත්වේගෙන යනවා දවසින් දවස. විදේශීය රටවල් වලට ණය වෙලා තියෙනවා ඇති වෙනකම්. ඔය කියන ලොක්කො ටික මේ රට ගෙනල්ලා තියෙන්නේ අන්න එතනටයි. ඔය ඉන්න හැම එක්කෙනෙක්ම කරුණා කරලා ගෙදර යන්න. ගෙදර ගිහිල්ලා අලුත් අයට ඕක බාර දෙන්න. ඕගොල්ලෝ ඔප්පු කරලා තිනවා ඕගොල්ලන්ගේ නොහැකියාව. මේ බෝම්බ පිපිරීමේ සිද්ධිය කවුද මේකට අනුබල දුන්නේ? මේකේ වෙච්ච දේ එළියට දාන්න නොදී හංගන්න හදන්නේ කවුද? ඇයි එහෙම කරන්න කියලා ජනතාව දන්නවා. ජනතාව තමයි විනිශ්චයකරුවෝ. එතකොට ඔවුන් හරියාකාරව විනිශ්චය කරන්නට ඕනේ.
The Cardinal also responded to questions whether His Holiness Pope Francis took up with him the accusations made by Minister Mangala Samaravira. Minister Mangala Samaravira tweeted that the Cardinal was fanning the flames of racism and asked the Vatican to take note of his actions.
කිසිම දෙයක් ඒ ගැන කතා කරේ නැහැ. උන්වහන්සේ දන්නෙත් නැහැ එහෙම දෙයක් ගැන. මම ජාතිවාදයේ අවුස්සන්න නම් කතා කරන්නේ ජාතිවාදයේ අවුස්සන්න ලොකුන්ම ඉඩකඩ තිබිච්ච වෙලාවේ මම දෙමළ ජනතාවගේ අයිතිවාසිකම් වෙනුවෙන් පෙනී හිටපු සිංහල මිනිස්සෙක්. මොලේ තියෙන මිනිස්සෙක් කියන වචන නෙමෙයි ඒවා.
Leader of the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress parliamentarian Rauf Hakim says that if the group of Muslim ministers had not made the decision to resign, MP Rishad Baduddin would still be holding on to his ministerial position. Speaking at an event in Gampola today, Hakim also went on to say that his decision to take up a ministerial post will not be done in haste.
මගේ මේ ඉල්ල ආශ්‍රිතයෙන් කතා කරනවා හැමදෙනාම කියන්නේ මේක අරමුණ අපි මේ ත්‍රස්ත ක්‍රියාවට අනුබල දුන්න අය ආණ්ඩුව රකින්නවයි කියන දෝෂාරෝපණයක් එල්ල වෙනවා. මේ අපේ කබීර් හෂිම් ඇමතුමා අපේ රිෂාඩ් ඇමතුමා ළඟ ගිහිල්ලා අහලා තියෙනවා මේ ඇමතුමෝ මේ අග්‍රාමාත්‍යතුමා කියනවා ඔබතුමාගෙන් මට අහන්න කියලා. එතුමා ඇවිල්ලා බැනවදිනවා හොම මම මොකටද අයින් වෙන්නේ. ඉතින් යාත් අයින් වෙන්න ලැහැස්ති නෑ. එතකොට අපි කුමක්ද කරන්නේ? එතකොට මම කිව්වා අපි ඔක්කොම ඉක්ලා අස්වෙමු. එතකොට එතුමාට තිල්ලා අස්වෙන්න වෙනවනේ. අපි අහම්බෙන් ගත්ත තීරණයක් ඕක. දවස් 3-4කට උඩදී ජනාධිපතිතුමා මට කතා කරලා කිව්වා මොන ඔබතුමා මේ කරුණාකරලා එන්න ජාතික ආරක්ෂක සභාව රැස් වෙනවා. ඒකෙනුත් ජනාධිපතිතුමා මගෙන් බැගෑපත් ඉල්ලීමක් කරා. ඔන්න රවුෆගේ මමතුමෝ දැන් ඇති ඉවත් වෙලා ඉන්න එක දැන් ආණ්ඩුවට එකතු වෙන්නයි කියලා කිව්වා. දැන් අද හෙටම ත්‍රස්ත විමර්ශන අංශයත් අපරාධ පරීක්ෂණ දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවත් ඒ වාර්තාව ලබා දෙවි. ලබා දුන්නාට පස්සේ ඒ චෝදනා තියෙන අය ඒ පිළිබඳව තීරණය ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ අය තීරණය ගත්තට මම නම් තීරණය ගන්න යන්නේ නැහැ. මම පොඩ්ඩක් ඉවසගෙන ඉන්නවා. මැතිවරණ එනවනේ තව ඉදිරියට. ඊට පස්සේ අපිට බලන්න පුළුවන්.
UMP parliamentarian Professor Shumara Singh has said today that the report of recommendations related to the private campus in Batiklo will be presented to the Cabinet of Ministers tomorrow. This report was presented to Parliament on Friday by the Sectoral Oversight Committee on Education and Human Resources Development. The Attorney General's Department was also given a copy of the report today. Marasinghe went on to state that there are no challenges for government to take over the university under the state of emergency. Parliamentarian Venerable Aturaliye Ratanathera requests President Maithripala Sirisena to oppose the signing of the proposed defence agreement with the United States. The Thera, along with the General Secretary of the United People's Freedom Alliance, Mahinda Amaraveera, made this request addressing a seminar in Colombo today.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂ කණ්ඩායම් විදියට ජනාධිපතිතුමා අපේ මුණ ගැහිලා එතුමාට මම සොයාගත්තු කරුණවල බරපතලකම මම පැහැදිලි කළා. එතුමා ඒ කාරණාවල බරපතලකම මා විශ්වාස කරන වටහා ගත්තා කියලා. මම ඉල්ලීමක් කරා රාජ්‍ය නායකයා විදියට ඔබතුමා කිසිසේත් මේ ගිවිසුම අත්සන් කිරීමට එකඟතාවය පළ කරන්න එපා කියලා. අපි කොන්දේසි විරහිතව මේ වෙනුවෙන් තියෙන සියලු සටන් පෙරමුණු වලට අපි එනවා.
ඇත්තටම එක්සත් ජනපද මැදිහත් වීමකට ගිවිසුමක් අත්සන් කරොත් ඊළඟ ආණ්ඩුව එවැනි ගිවිසුමක් කැන්සල් කරන්න වැඩ කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක තමයි අපිට තියෙන බය. අපි මෛත්‍රීපාල සිරිසේන මහත්තයාගේ බොහොම ගෞරවයෙන් ඉල්ල හිටිනවා ඔබතුමා ජනාධිපතිවරයා හැටියට මේ කරුමෙන් අපි ගලවලා දෙන්න කියලා අපි ආයාචනා කර සිටිනවා.
Director General of the Institute of National Security Studies, Professor Sangabe Gunasekara, meanwhile insists that there is no factual basis for the widespread statement of the establishment of a US military base in Sri Lanka. Responding to Indivariya Muwatta on our political and current affairs program at Hyde Park on AdaDerana 24, Professor Abe Gunasekara, however, highlights that China may in fact be interested in pacts similar to the USA's AXA and SOFA, since Sri Lanka has entered into these agreements with the United States.
The SOFA agreement, the State of Forces agreement, United States, and the AXA agreement, acquisition and cross services agreement. This was first signed in 2007 and renewed in 2017. But what is this talk about US bases being set up in Sri Lanka and the ability made available through these agreements for foreign powers to come to Sri Lanka?
Clear observations we have given. What are the national security threats from this agreement? Even for the SOFA agreement we have given. So those observations has to be taken.
What were these observations?
AXA, we mentioned clearly there should be a term limit. They sign indefinitely. You don't sign agreements indefinitely. Also, it should go to the parliament because these are logistics agreements. Now, when it's logistics, one of their flights would come, unload the stuff, load it, and then take it to the aircraft carrier. Country could benefit economically. But on the SOFA, they have a clause on telecommunications equipments that they can bring in. But then it has to go through the Telecommunication Regulatory Commission that we have. They cannot sort of, bypass the regulatory commissions. These are few amendments that has to be taken. There's no factors saying that the Americans are coming here to set up a base or Chinese are coming here to colonize. Or these are all over-amplified statements.
Let me quote, if implemented, the agreement would take away Sri Lanka's right to inspect any US vessels, aircraft or naval vessels that enter Sri Lanka. How do we look at the security, the threat, the risk to Sri Lanka?
These are not highly classified documents. These are logistics agreements which can go to the parliament, it can be discussed, which the other countries have done. So,
why haven't we taken this up in Parliament?
That's a good question. Take it to the Parliament, discuss, come into some terms. If US has signed in many countries, Sri Lanka, if they want to sign, that's fine. But you have to see the future of it, because if you sign such agreements with the United States, don't be surprised if China also gives us an agreement like this in the future.
We will join you with more local news right after this commercial break. Opposition leader Mahinda Rajapaksa today moved to respond to comments made by President Maithripala Sirisena regarding the failures of the last two amendments made to the Constitution. Yesterday, President Sirisena claimed that Sri Lanka has faced political instability due to the enactment of the 19th Amendment and blamed its predecessor, the 18th Amendment, for being a dictatorial one. Opposition leader Mahinda Rajapaksa, in response, said the 18th Amendment, which was brought under his leadership, has no harmful impact on the country.
පක්ෂනායකතුමනි දැන් අපි දන්නවා මේ ඊයේ ප්‍රකාශ කරනවා ජනාධිපතිතුමා මේ අවුරුදු 4 මාර කාලය තුල රට අස්ථාවර වුණේ රට හරියට කරගන්න බැරි වුණේ මේ 18 වන සංශෝධනය සහ 19 වන සංශෝධනය නිසා කියලා. මොකක්ද මේ?
18 දී ප්‍රශ්නයක් උනේ නැහැ නේ. අවුරුදු අපි පාලනය කරන කාලේ කිසිම ප්‍රශ්නයක් තිබුණේ නැහැ අපිට. මොකද ওই 18ට සම්මාදන් වුණා එතුමා. ඇදුවා ඡන්දෙ දුන්නා කරතත් කරා. 18 හොඳයි කියලානේ. 19ට එතුමා ආණ්ඩුවේ හවුලුනේ. උනේ බොහොම හොඳයි කියලා එතුමා ඒකට ලොකු සහතිකයකුත් දුන්නා. ඉතින් දැන් අවුරුදු 4මාරකට පස්සේ එහෙම 19 අවුලක් කියලා තේරිච්ච එක ලොකු දෙයක්.
Remarks made by President Maithripala Sirisena on the need to repeal both 18th and 19th amendments attracted more reactions today. Speaking to AdaDerana, Executive Director of PAFREL, Rohan Hettiarachchi said that abolishing the 19th amendment to the Constitution for personal interest will not be beneficial for the country.
මේකට සහයෝගය දෙන්නයි කිව්වා. මම තමයි එතුමාගෙන් ප්‍රශ්නයක් අහුවා. 19 වෙනි සංශෝධනය ගෙනහලා 20 වෙනි සංශෝධනය මැතිවරණ ක්‍රමය වෙනස් කරන වැඩපිළිවෙල නොගෙනාවොත් තාමත්ම අපහසුතාවයකට රටපත් වෙනවා කියලා. එතුමා බොහොම පැහැදිලිව කිව්වා නියත වශයෙන්ම 20 වෙනි සංශෝධනය ඊගාව සතියේත් ගේනවා. ඒ අනුව තමයි මම නම් ඒකට එදා එකක වුණේ. මම නායක නෑ 19 අවලං කරා. 19 ඇත්තටම අපි ඉදිරියට ගෙනියන. පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට මුළු බලය ගන්න.
19 සංශෝධනයේ කියන ප්‍රජාතාන්ත්‍රික ලක්ෂණ අපි අගය කරනවා. ඒ වගේම ජනාධිපතිවරයාගේ බලතල අඩු කිරීමේ යම් සීමාවක් තිබිය යුතුයි. ඒ සීමාව අපි දකිනවා මේ තුල තියෙනවා කියලා.
අද ජනාධිපතිතුමාට අගමැතිව මාරු කරන්න බෑ. එතකොට අපිට එදා ඒ තේරිච්ච දේ ජනාධිපතිතුමාට අවුරුදු 4කට පස්සේ තේරීම ගැන ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම මම ගොඩක් සතුටු වෙනවා.
Government hospitals in the Kalutara district are currently engaged in a 24-hour token strike which commenced at noon today. The Government Medical Officers Association says that the strike action was launched in protest against obstructing their campaign to collect signatures from the public against Minister of Health, Nutrition and Indigenous Medicine, Dr. Rajda Ratna. The Government Medical Officers Association launched a campaign this morning at the Kalutara District General Hospital to collect signatures from the public against Minister of Health, Nutrition and Indigenous Medicine Dr. Rajda Ratna. However, tense situation erupted at the location when a group of supporters of the Minister of Health proceeded to take down campaign banners. The police took measures to control the situation where the group was requested to leave the premises. The group of supporters, however, continued to engage in a separate protest outside the hospital while the campaign to collect signatures continued at the hospital. However, the group protesting against the campaign once again arrived at the hospital premises to stop the collection of signatures. Meanwhile, a member of another trade union charged that organisers of the campaign to collect signatures did not receive prior approval from the director of the hospital to launch their campaign at the premises. According to our correspondent, the incident led to the disruption of OPD services at the hospital. It is in this backdrop that the Government Medical Officers Association announced the launch of a 24-hour token strike which commenced at 12 this afternoon at all government hospitals in Kalutara. The association further added that measures will be taken to launch an island-wide campaign against the Minister of Health at all government hospitals. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says that plans are afoot to operate the Mathura Rajapaksa International Airport as a joint venture with the Indian Aviation Authority in the near future. Meanwhile, speaking at the same event in Muthurajawala this afternoon, Malaysian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Yang Tai Tan, reiterated Malaysia's trust and confidence in the country following the Easter Sunday attacks. The Commissioner, however, requested the government to ensure that a conducive environment is created for Malaysian investors if economic benefits are to be reaped between both countries.
A lubricant blending plant built to the tune of $30 million at the Ceylon Petroleum Storage Terminals Limited was declared open by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe in Muthurajawala today. An investment by Malaysian company Hyrax Oil, the plant will manufacture lubricant products for Ceylon Petroleum Corporation for a period of 20 years and is expected to earn a revenue of $60 million per annum from Sri Lanka and within the region.
Sri Lanka and Malaysia has had a long history. We've been trading for long and we've had a cultural and a trade relationship. What is important now, the fact that you have found it fit to come here, that you find a growing market not only in Sri Lanka but in South Asia, which will be the largest growing market in the coming 20, 30 years. As we go forward, there will be bigger demand for your lubricants. We open up our airport international airport in Hambantota. We will be operating soon as a joint venture with the Indian Aviation Authority. So this is all part of the plan we have for the development of the country.
Despite the current economic and security challenges facing this country, Malaysia continues to place our trust and confidence in Sri Lanka. In the same vein, I would appreciate it also if the government of Sri Lanka could continue to provide a conducive environment for Malaysian investors and participate in these economic activities for mutual benefits of both countries. Malaysia and on the other hand, also welcome greater participants from Sri Lankan business and investment by making Malaysia as a gateway to ASEAN that offer huge market opportunity for more than 630 million customers. There exists vast potential for Sri Lankan investors to explore. Trade between our two countries has indeed strengthened over the years. Malaysia values Sri Lanka as an important trade and investment partner in South Asian region. Malaysia's total bilateral trade with Sri Lanka was at an all-time high of USD 718.3 million last year. This year's bilateral trade for the period of January until April 2019 has been recorded at almost 200 million US dollars. Malaysia remains committed to invest in Sri Lanka.
In an effort to improve meetings, incentives, conferences and exhibition tourism between India and Sri Lanka, Sri Lankan Airlines organised a MICE promotion campaign recently. Now, as part of this effort, the national carrier flew down 200 MICE travellers from Chennai last week to engage in a fact-finding mission to promote Sri Lanka as a safe destination for travel. According to the report titled Sri Lanka MICE Tourism Market, Current Trends, Opportunity, Growth Potential and Forecast to 2025, compiled by Analytical Research Cognizance, Sri Lanka is emerging as the fastest growing meetings, incentive, conferences and exhibition tourism market and is expected to reach $285 million by 2025. Meanwhile, Colombo shares fell for a third straight session to hit a near two-week low on foreign outflows today. The benchmark all-share price index ended 0.17% weaker at 5,354.53, its lowest closing level since June 11. Foreigners sold on a net basis for the 10th session out of the last 11. We now have Achudan Srirangan from First Capital on how the markets performed during the day.
Both capital market had a mixed reaction today. Bond market commenced at a week on a bullish note as the market participants react to the announcement of the second sovereign bond issue for this year to be raised 2.5 billion, which led to the heavy buying interest and downward shift in the yield curve across the curve. As the stock market ended in the red for a third consecutive session, dragged on by Ceylon Tobacco and Hemas Holding. Volume recorded for the nearly 2 months low, while the foreign outflow was recorded amidst foreign participation.
The Sri Lankan rupee rose today, buoyed by hopes of dollar inflows into two sovereign bonds launched earlier in the day. Sri Lanka launched the sale of 5-year and 10-year sovereign bonds, aiming to tap global capital markets for the second time in 3 months. The currency ended at 176 rupees and 45 to 55 cents per dollar. Analysts, however, still expect the rupee to weaken further. Let's now take a look at today's foreign currency rates. Now cross over to a short commercial break and we will join you with more news right after that. The UN says tens of thousands of Islamic State fighters and family members being held in Iraq and Syria must be tried or released. Human Rights Chief Michelle Bachelet also called on countries to take responsibility for their citizens and take them back if not charged. The last IS stronghold fell in March and some 55,000 people are being held, including thousands of foreigners. But many nations have shown reluctance to bring their citizens back. The countries fear prosecutions of IS fighters may be difficult, and public opinion is often strongly against repatriation. Tens of thousands of people celebrated in Istanbul last night as main opposition Republican People's Party candidate Ekrem İmamoğlu claimed a decisive victory in the city's rerun mayoral election. İmamoğlu's win dealt one of the biggest blows to Turkey's President Tayyip Erdogan during his 16 years in power.
Turkey's opposition has dealt President Tayyip Erdogan a stinging blow by winning control of Istanbul in a rerun mayoral election and delivering a message from unhappy voters over his ever tighter grip of power. Ekrem İmamoğlu of the secularist Republican People's Party secured 54.21% of votes, the head of the High Election Board announced today, which is a far wider victory margin than his narrow win 3 months ago. The previous result was annulled after protests from Erdogan's Islamist-rooted AK party, which said there had been widespread voting irregularities. Today's election results ends 25 years of AKP rule in Istanbul. The AKP's candidate, former Prime Minister Binali Yildirim, conceded to his opponent. Taking to Twitter, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan congratulated İmamoğlu for the victory. Erdogan had previously said that whoever wins Istanbul wins Turkey.
Ethiopia's senior security said that the suspected ringleader of Saturday's failed coup attempt in Amhara region is on the run. The government declared a day of mourning today to mark the deaths of 6 people whose lives were claimed in the unrest, including the bodyguard who killed the army chief. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed was urged Ethiopians to unite against evil forces set on dividing the country. The late Army Chief General Asiya Mekonnen was seen as close allies of the Prime Minister. Meanwhile, a heavy contingent of pro-government forces have been deployed in Amhara's capital Bahir Dar and the federal capital Addis Ababa. The internet has been shut down across the country days after services resumed following an unexplained blackout of more than a week. Meanwhile, France is braced for a heat wave with temperatures forecast to exceed 40 degrees Celsius this week, potentially breaking the record in June 2013, which was 41.5 degrees Celsius. The north of the country, including Paris, will be worst affected. The city of Paris has activated its Level 3 extreme heat plan, in which temporary fountains have been put in place and public schools will stay open later as part of the plan. Water will also be distributed and a care plan will be put in effect for vulnerable people, including the elderly, as high humidity will make 40 degrees Celsius feel like 47 degrees Celsius in the capital. Level 4, the maximum heat plan, has never been used so far. According to AccuWeather, the expected heat wave is the result of a storm stalling over the Atlantic Ocean and high pressure over Central and Eastern Europe, which will pull very hot air from Africa northward across Europe. NASA revealed today that a tiny Raspberry Pi computer was used to steal data from the space agency's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. An audit report reveals the gadget was used to take about 500 megabytes of data. It said 2 of the files that were taken dealt with the international transfer of restricted military and space technology. The attacker who used the device to hack the network went undetected for about 10 months. The malicious hacker won access to Jet Propulsion Lab internal network via the Raspberry Pi by hijacking its user account. The attacker has not been identified or caught. The stolen data came from 23 files, but little detail was given about the type of information that went astray. South Africa were knocked out of the World Cup as Pakistan inflicted a fifth defeat on the struggling Proteas to keep their own semi-final hopes alive. Pakistan won the match by 49 runs to register just their second win from 6 games. Haris Sohail's entertaining 89 and 69 from Babar Azam saw Pakistan make 308 for 7 after they won the toss at Lord's. Chasing the victory target despite 63 from captain Faf du Plessis, South Africa never got up with the required rate and finished on 257 for 9. On to the live matches of the ICC World Cup. Invited to bat first, Bangladesh scored 262 runs for the loss of 7 wickets in their allotted 50 overs. Mushfiqur Rahim was the top scorer for the Bengali Tigers with a knock of 83 runs, while Shakib Al Hassan contributed with 51 runs. Chasing 262, Afghanistan looked untroubled in the beginning as they got off to a steady start with the first wicket falling at 49. The Afghans are currently on 125 for the loss of 5 runs. And with that, we conclude this edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining us and have a pleasant evening.